on July 24th, 2024. The waiver applies to property located at 35 Lost Pass Road, Moose Run subdivision, map 105, lot 11, sublot 0. We will, if there's no objection, dispense with the reading of the application. Anybody wants to listen to the full reading of the application? She hasn't called. Apparently, I think everybody's had a chance to read it.
I can't read the writing.
Huh?
I can't read the
Oh.
writing.
Well, we can just.
All right.
Find somebody who can read that.
You haven't seated everybody.
I will.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna. Okay, we have with the board constitutes myself as chair, Paul Saunier as our vice chair, Barbara Prendergast as our clerk, and Tom Myrick. We also have Barry Fish. He's in a butter and he has recused himself from this case. We are seating Paul Gaudette in his place. And Nichols is also an alternate member. The original application that was submitted to the zoning board was a request for a variance, that required the variance they are requesting goes to the ordinance requiring a 20-foot setback between a structure and any side or rear lot line. The variance was requested because the foundation of the structure protrudes 4 feet 3 inches into the setback. After review of the application and being advised that the infringement into the setback was already in place, the board determined that the relief the applicant sought was more appropriately an equitable waiver of dimensional requirements under the zoning ordinance. The applicant was requested to provide an application for this waiver. It was submitted, as I indicated, on July 24th and was substituted for the original application for a variance. To grant a waiver, the board must find 4 things. The violation was not discovered until after the structure was substantially completed. The violation was not an outcome of ignorance of the law or bad faith on the part of the owner or agents of the owner. The physical dimension violation does not diminish the value of other property in the area, and the cost of the correction so far outweighs any public benefit to be gained that it would be inequitable to require the violation to be corrected. All 4 elements must be met. Is the owner here to present the application? No. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak to the application? Board.
If you have questions about the application, I can do it. I'm the builder.
Could you come forward, please, and go up to the mic if that's okay? And I just want to point out that anybody here that's seated on the board, feel free to interrupt him or me if you have questions. Do it. I'm sorry, and can we have your name, please?
Brian Blanchard.
Brian Blanchard. And what company are you with?
Mine, Blanchard Enterprises,
And where are you located?
Hampton.
Okay. Can you give us a little background on your involvement with the project, when you became involved and
At the very beginning of that,
so,
of the project, I met with Will and I built the house for Jane and Bill. And I
okay,
met with Will at the very beginning. We had the plans, we had the site plan. They had an engineer, surveyor, HEB.
Yeah.
And they surveyed the lot and they had one pin that was in a stone wall that was mismarked. And so we laid out off all the pins.
okay, there were architect drawings for this house, I presume?
Yep.
And were you involved in those, or do you, that's what you used to
Yeah.
build the house?
Yeah.
But were you involved in, as they drew them up?
No.
No.
No,
Okay, and so,
Who hired the firm to make those drawings up, the
Yeah.
site plan up?
other lanes.
Okay, and they did it on their own?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they presented those plans to you?
Yeah, they did. They worked with them on all 3. They own 3 lots.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
the engineer was trying to put all 3 lots together, so it worked.
so did the site plan then, as originally done, does it show that protruding in?
No, it doesn't, because the line that they were pulling off, the pin that they were pulling off. Was mismarked. They had labeled it, or they had put it in the wrong spot where it was. They have since, another surveying company came in to survey the lot again and the house placement for the bank and for Will and Megan Lane. And they found where the pin was, which turned out, that's why that corner of the house is turned into that. There was the one pin that is between Will's lot 35 and then lot 10,
Which
that
is,
goes out back, was just marked. And so we went off the first one, laying the foundation out. And it got laid out in ports. We thought everything was fine. I mean, we checked after, we checked up to the road, we checked over near Cooney's house and Cutler's house. Everything was fine. And then we found out maybe a month ago.
June, I think. Well, that's when the bank.
Oh, the bank, when was it?
In beginning of June.
Okay, yeah. So in June, the bank sent someone out and they just wanted to plot the house now as an as-built
Mhm.
instead of just going off the original site plan. And they had all the pins, but the one pin on down there by lot 10, the pin in question wasn't where HEB had said, and where they found it puts that corner of the house right in line with the setback.
How much was built by the time the bank inspector came around?
The bank surveyor,
Yeah, survey.
the whole place, it's all built.
Oh.
Everything was done. We thought I mean, there was no question, we didn't think, I mean. We have all the pins clearly marked there, so we were able to pull in, and like I said, double check, but we were using the wrong one, so. My fault, their fault, I can't, I'm not gonna point fingers, I don't know whose it was, but where they. Pulled from wasn't proper,
Okay,
But all were there,
except for one,
except for the one that is the one that you were.
that's in
you're talking
question,
about.
well, it was in question, yeah. We have found the pin, they did, and so they just hung a ribbon where it was, because it was some feet down inside of a massive boulder wall. That was built for lot 10
Yeah,
out back.
I
for the
guess I'm
right
just
of way.
trying to see, how did the bank find and
I have no idea the difference between the two surveyors, I can't answer that.
Well, a mortgage plot plan is not nearly as accurate as an instrument survey, so it seems to me that.
It
Something
was an
went,
instrument survey,
originally it should have been an instrument survey,
and so was the second one.
so the more. Bank paid for an instrument survey, not a plot plan,
No.
that's unusual.
They had surveyors out.
A survey, I worked. Versus dollars for a mortgage plot plan, so
Yeah, I can't answer that, I do know that. there
it just
was a
seems to
surveyor
me
there.
that. The problem was found by a lesser,
Well, if it,
So
so
it
if
just-
HEB was right, you're saying, and this guy was wrong, then the house is fine. But going with the surveyor that the bank sent up, that puts that corner of the house in question. But the original, the last survey guy, because I talked to him at length a couple times, when he found it, he contacted me and I met him.
Okay.
And he said, this is where this pin is, right here. So, I mean, if you go back to, you think the first guy is better, then the house is fine. But this other guy, we're going by the bank, or not the bank, but their surveyor, and it puts that corner of the house in question.
I guess the important thing to know is, was it an instrument survey, because that would make it very accurate.
It was, but they both were.
it's odd.
Two different surveys,
Yeah.
two different starting points.
What's that? Go ahead, say it, Tom.
So yeah, it's two different surveys of two different starting points.
Correct.
Yeah,
Brian, can you take a look at this drawing and let me know who originated this drawing that was found in the packet? Requesting the variance and requesting the,
We can't tell from the packet whether it was attached,
This is the one that came from the surveyor from the bank.
that's
oh,
what I,
okay, yeah, thanks.
yeah.
That's the one.
That was what I was curious about.
So we can assume that this is the right one. That this is the correct survey.
Yeah.
And this is
In fact,
a violation.
a
then.
violation. I have one question. did, Mr. Lane or his wife, discuss with you the possibility of extending the lot line by purchasing an additional 4 feet, 3 inches?
Have we talked about that?
Yeah,
No, well, it could be done because they own all the property around there, but no, we hadn't discussed that.
okay, I just wondered if that, as an alternative to having,
I'm sure that if it came down to something like that, rather than
Easier.
rip that end of the house off, I'm sure they're gonna do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, ripping the end of the house off is not. is
Yeah,
not a
that does,
practical
it does,
example.
yeah.
no, that's not,
But the owners of this house, their mother owns the lot next to it.
Mhm.
So it's
I
not as
believe
though
he
it's all
owns
kind of
two-
people.
That's
kids.
correct. Bill and Jane, the
Bill-
parents own lot 10, and I believe it's lot 5 down
Yes.
below.
yes,
And then Will owns lot 35, so all 3 of those, anyone that's really impact is the right of way that goes down to lot 10.
Yeah.
That's what's impacted,
and that's the right
The-
of way.
the
is
driveway
the
that's gonna go
access
down.
To go to lot
Right.
5.
lot 10, correct.
No, well, he's lot.
He's
11.
lot 35,
Okay,
he's 35 Lost Path Road.
yeah, but I think that's lot 11.
Oh, lot, yes, you're
Okay,
right, yeah.
and then 5 is the one that's on there's the,
5 is the last lot on Drake's.
is that where the,
Brooks Road, that's.
is that where the current house is
Yeah.
built?
Yeah,
Yeah,
The house you see is been there for
Yeah.
15, 16 years.
okay. And
So this doesn't just impact the deck.
yes, it does, I believe, yeah.
It just impacts the deck,
Yeah,
nothing
it's
below it.
finished.
well, the
It's not a
foundation,
deck. It's a full finished room. And
That's what I
with a
mean.
rubber roof decking
Yeah.
that waterproofs it from below.
That's what I mean. So it's
Yeah.
not just,
It's all living space. No, it's
So-
not part of the wood structure up above. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, no.
And the wood structure up above doesn't hang out any further.
No, it's actually set back.
okay, so it's really the foundation
So-
that.
It's the full
concrete.
foundation all the way. That whole, what they're calling a deck, which it is a deck above, that's all house foundation and rooms down below.
Oh, so it's gonna be finished space.
It is finished. yes, it's
Okay.
going to be, you're right. It's not,
Okay.
yeah, yes.
So in reality, they're down to 2 choices because I dealt with, I'm telling them to tear the side of the house off. We either consider the waiver or we tell them to go fix his lot line.
That's true.
Well, the other thing is that in order to access that back lot 10, that's this driveway because it's a doghead lot.
Well, it's a second driveway, actually. There, you see the driveway up to his house. And then there's an easement.
But this drive, this is the other lot that's not developed yet.
Okay.
And that's their driveway to get to that lot.
Yes, that will be.
That will be affected if we do the
But-
swap. And
Oh.
how will it affect it?
Well, I don't,
I don't believe driveways have to be in the 20-foot setback.
yeah, I think that's
It's,
correct. They do not have,
a lot of people have driveways in the 20-foot setback.
Yeah.
and they don't, they
But does
don't.
it impede?
And
the
he's giving
driveway?
them an easement.
For
which I
that
believe
piece.
is again, his family.
Right.
But he's giving them an easement so they can get to that lot, because otherwise they would
The
be.
easement's been in there since the beginning of time.
Oh, it has been.
That's been there all along.
Yeah,
Okay,
So if you,
thank you.
it looks to me like the clear solution is get the surveyor back and figure out a way to solve the setback problem by either moving it down or kicking it out. Now, I tell you, I know what the problem's gonna be. It's the house down below is already designed.
yes.
So
Well, do you know whether they have more than 20 feet?
I have no idea, but it's probably
Well, and
using
I
up
don't-
every square foot of the
Of the
lot.
lot.
I don't think that we can abandon their application.
No,
No,
but
but-
we can refuse it and tell them to go back and fix the lot line.
Okay, well, then what if he can't do that? Then what does he do?
And then he's got a bigger problem.
He comes back in for another waiver.
Yeah,
think
this
we should-
isn't the first time. This happens all the time.
I've been building up here for 30 years, a lot of houses, there's 27 of them. I've never had this issue. I've never even I heard a relative of my wife's has a log cabin someplace over there. They had abandoned,
Yeah.
they had a problem
Yes.
They.
with their lot too,
Yeah.
the way it was.
And they had the situation that was slightly different.
Yeah, I'm.
We gave them the variance because it was, first of all, it wasn't so much the building. Butters were fine with
Fine,
them. It's,
yeah.
please do it. Poor kids are crying, they don't want to tear their house apart.
It's
Okay.
also a matter of inches
Yeah,
versus.
I would,
Yeah.
I would
Also, it's
not
gonna
consider,
Impact the.
I would not
integrity of the
consider
house.
the variance until you look at whether you
waiver.
can move the lot line.
Okay, well,
And
let's,
and if the lot line has a problem on lot 10 behind it, there's nothing there but dirt. You can spin the house, you can change the location of the number 10 house.
okay, let's go forward with where we're at now, though, which is we're looking at a pending waiver, okay?
Yep.
And does anybody have any more questions of Mr. Blanchard?
Not me.
Okay. Then, would anybody else like to speak to this? We have anybody that would like to speak for it,
For the variance,
for the waiver, for granting the waiver?
I would not like to speak for it, but I
Okay,
would like to speak.
Mr. Fish,
You're asking for the people that are.
that would like to speak for it, yes. You can speak to, yes, Mr. Fish is, as you know, as I said, is on the board, but he is also an abutter. As an abutter, he can speak to the issue of, not to the specific points that are raised that the board will decide on, but as to his view of the application itself. Okay?
Well, our two houses are like 300 or 400 feet apart, so I really can't see where the actual infraction is.
Mhm.
I have a line of trees by my property. I can't see the house. So I don't have any objections.
Okay.
That's it.
This is, well, this maybe should have been from Mr. Blanchard, but you have seen the property. I have
yeah, of
viewed it too.
Yeah.
And this is basically sort of towards the back or behind the house? I mean, it's not
sort of-
visible from the road, is it?
Sort of like, here's the house.
Mhm.
And it's like that corner right there.
And Lost Pass Road is,
The opposite.
yeah,
I can't see it
okay,
from my house. I can't see it from the road. I can't see it here,
okay,
but. And that's just my opinion.
okay, thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak to the issue? You can speak either for or against
For
at
or
this point.
against.
Yeah, for or
Go
against.
ahead. We won't stand on, formalities.
Speak.
Yeah, I'm lot 12 in Cooney, and quite frankly, I'm against it. Because setting precedents like this, there were some other undeveloped lots in this one, and, same thing could happen. The question I have is that if the first surveyor missed it, why didn't they get that surveyor back and find out exactly what happened? It seems to me that they took the bank surveyor's word for it. And the conflict here.
Okay, I am. As somebody mentioned, this has happened before, but the purpose of the waiver is to take care of a situation
Yeah.
like this. So that it, to me, or not to me,
Okay.
but
Okay, then at the very least, my suggestion would be to change the outline. What class that's going to be, rather than give a waiver tonight.
okay, thank you. Marilyn?
Yeah. I was basically gonna say the same thing that Mr. Cooney just said. First of all, it concerns it's a bad precedent. There is another option, which is why won't they survey, since they own all three lots and they're all contiguous, why don't they resurvey and move the lot line on the other lot 4 feet 3 inches?
Well, they have to, well, first of all, we have to find out whether they can do that,
Right,
which we did not request that they bring that information to us.
right. So I would say if there is another option, that we should exercise that option. Apparently there are these 4 criteria that have to be met for a variance. And the second one is not ignorance of. What does that mean? Because I know, like, when Eric McLeish was about to break ground on his lot in Moose Run, we ran into this problem. They caught it in time. And we ended up having to move the garage. We turned it 90 degrees. It wasn't originally going to face the street, but it got turned because it didn't quite fit. The garage is not a perfect square. So to turn it 90 degrees, it fit on the lot to accommodate that footprint and that 20-foot setback from the house that's above it, next door to it. And that they caught in time. But if other people have done all the right things to abide by the laws, and now we just say, oh, well, you didn't catch it, so I guess it's okay. We'll allow this exception and go ahead forward. Well, okay, then I'm just gonna build a garage, right, you know, in my 20-foot setback and then come in front of you guys and say, I'm so sorry, I didn't know there was an error, you know, it's done, it's built, the foundation's in, you know, I can't dig it up, that would be extreme, which I would agree with. But we're at a point where that lot next door, they haven't even broken ground. So I'm sure that they can figure out a way to accommodate 4 feet, 3 inches.
Yeah.
I had a survey done on my lot before I started building because of the nightmare that we went through on Eric McLeish's lot. And so I was pretty sure where the pins were before I started building. And those are the things that you do. If
Well,
you're
that-
confident before
I
you
believe
start
that, I
building.
believe that he testified that they did do that.
They did do that.
And, they knew there was a 20-foot setback and were trying to adhere to it, which is one of the issues of that section.
I understand.
The
I
other
think-
one is they didn't purposefully hide the violation until after the structure was built, as far as we can tell from Mr. Blanchard's testimony.
That's a good point.
So
It's true.
from that perspective, that would meet that criteria.
Of the not ignorance of, yeah.
If they meet the 4 criteria, we are bound by the way it's written, at least, that we grant a waiver. So
If there's no other option.
no, there's
No.
no saying of if there's no other option. That's not unfortunately in the ordinance. We could wish it would be that. And the board is, and I'm not sure whether this would be even appropriate, but we could adjourn this hearing for now and let them explore that. But I've seen the site and I have gone over the application fairly carefully. And I would hate to just say, no, we're not going to grant it, because they do have another option and then have them.
They have another option, and
And not
my
have,
suggestion was gonna be, they should examine that other option first. Oh, but
we can, but I'm not going to have us vote to deny it based on the fact that they have another option, because there's nothing in the
Uh,
ordinance that requires that.
then
We
table,
suggest we
then
should do it.
table it and have that. They've already, I believe that the house down below is already been designed, right?
Yeah, I've been told, I have never seen the plan.
So I'd like to see a drawing.
What about lot 10? That's been clear cut. Has that perimeter been set for that house?
That lot hasn't been clear cut yet. It has been cut for a building site.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has been cut to see the placement of the house. It has not been put on a site plan to my knowledge. Like the gentleman's talking about there.
yeah,
It's not on a piece of paper like that to my knowledge.
okay.
Has HTB been back since the first site plan?
Excuse me?
Has HTB or whoever did the original plan been back to say where the mistake was made, or?
No. Nobody, no, they, not to my
So-
knowledge.
So you're the only one speaking on behalf of this, so we don't really know whose fault it is. It's
No,
just that
they-
now there's a house there and
That's right.
it's,
Once in another survey, and it puts the house, I didn't know it was 4 feet, 3 inches or whatever, but it puts the house or the corner of the house into that setback. I don't believe Lane's, or I know I haven't have called HEB and said, hey, you made a huge mistake. What the heck's going on? Nothing's been said. They compared the 2 surveys, and without questioning the second survey or the first survey, we'll put in, as soon as we found out about it, we came in and applied for the variance.
Mhm.
Applied for the wrong variance the first time, which I honestly didn't know. the
No,
difference.
I'm sure not.
And then Will was contacted and he was asked to submit a different type of variance.
Yeah, for this waiver.
Yes,
Um,
It just seems like a large difference, 4 feet,
but that, when
right?
you're dealing with those angles, it's not a large difference in the, where that pin placement is. You're talking angles of a line from one point to another to put that in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the difference is. I can't honestly
the
tell
only
you.
part that's 4 feet.
But it doesn't mean that that pin
Is
is
that
4
little-
feet.
I know.
Right.
6
but
inches
it's-
difference than the other one. It would depend on the angle of the house and the angle of the lot.
A lot of the rest of it is.
Could be a
within.
foot. I'm not an expert. It could be a foot, could be 2 feet.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I'd like to know if this is an instrument survey, because if this is an instrument survey, then we know this is 100% accurate.
Yeah,
Well, I
this,
think you said both of them were.
Both of them
this has
banks
been
don't
deeded.
historically,
Banks do not do instrument surveys, they
Well,
do
they-
mortgage plot plans.
Yeah.
Right.
So if this is a plot plan, then it's not an instrument survey. So if
Okay.
it's instrument survey, 100%, we've got an issue that we've got to correct here, okay? But you would think that the site plan would be more accurate.
Would it be possible to probably get
The original.
the original plan to bring it in so we could look at it?
The-
The layout
The
before
first
it was
site plan.
built, just to get an idea, not saying judgment, just to get an idea as to where it was and the difference.
Well, generally speaking, I assume maybe they're getting a mortgage, so once the home gets to a certain point, they have to have a
I
mortgage
know.
plot plan done, so the plot plan was done. That's why I'm thinking this is the plot plan, maybe I'm wrong,
Well, it's,
and this guy says, hey, we got a problem, contacts the owner. Then the owner comes and comes to us. In my experience in the past, before you did that, you would have an instrument survey done to make sure what the mortgage plot plan told you is in fact the case. And that may be $800 versus, or $1,000 versus $250,
Right.
okay? So that's why giving this so much credibility, not knowing what it is.
Yeah.
Just concerns me. It may in fact be 100% accurate, but we're all jumping when,
well, that's why I'm suggesting if they could bring the original plan in so that we could
original
look at
site
it
plan.
and have input.
You have the original plan in someplace in the building, yeah.
It's gotta be in. the
Yeah, it's
plan.
gotta be in.
We
Yeah.
had to attach that to the building permit.
if
Yeah.
this is not an instrument survey, they should have an instrument
This was
survey done.
recorded too.
That's,
I know, it's probably a
but
plot
it's-
plan.
Yeah, you have first, this is New Hampshire, not
I
Massachusetts.
know, but
But then the other thing is, given the size, I believe it's a very large house,
It is.
and thus therefore the cost. I would have think that the bank would probably, I mean, if he says it's an instrument survey, I would think that the bank might have done such a thing. And the overall $800,
I watched him do it.
which the
No.
lane, which.
Watched the guy
Okay.
do the survey, they're both of them.
Yeah.
that's, I mean, whatever,
No,
I
I'm
did
not-
mortgages for 40 years and I did closings for 30 years, so unless they wanted to pay for one.
They could have changed things, so
Yeah,
Barbara,
but
since
maybe-
you and I have been
That's
doing
why
it.
I'm saying, maybe it is, if it is, great, then we know what we're dealing with, but if it isn't.
Well, you're saying that Mr. Blanchard is lying. I'm not gonna.
No, I'm
No,
not saying he's
No, no.
lying, I'm
Well,
just
he
saying,
Watch both of them.
so
do
you're
it.
saying it is, not saying that I didn't do a survey, but an instrument survey is different than a.
He said he
I
watched.
watched
both
the
of
guy do
You
it.
watched it
I
done.
know what an instrument survey is. I've been
Okay,
doing
and
this
it
for a
is an
long
instrument
time.
survey, okay, then
I
I,
watched them both. Was
I
there the whole
apologize.
Time they were doing it, no, but I know both guys did it. The second survey for that, he called to get me up there when he was doing the survey because he found that corner of it.
okay, so then this is an instrument survey, my apologies.
Yeah. So, you had asked for the original plan. Is that in the building somewhere, Sharon?
Yes.
Do you know where? he-
There, I think the architect's plan are probably up in Dave's office.
Yeah.
And
Do it at a
Chief-
later
Chief,
date?
He's not chief.
Chief
Mr. Noyes'
Noyes.
office.
Yeah.
Noise. See here.
Well,
He's not using
I
it
think the
anymore.
good news is that the house is not gonna be torn apart.
No.
There is a solution. It's just,
Well, we don't know if there's a solution.
Are you building lot 10 in the back? Do you know?
Yeah,
Not yet, okay.
Marilyn, you have another comment you wanted to make?
Yeah, I had a question. Coincidentally, all three of the board members from Moose Run are in this meeting. Tom Myrick, Dan Cooney, and
Right.
Mary Fish. And I just want to ask them, have there been other variances ever come before the ZBA for the other 40 houses in Moose Run?
I can tell you about mine.
Well, that's,
My builder
no,
put-
that's not responsive to the question. I have no idea whether there have been any others. I can go back and look at all of the hearings and the decisions that were rendered. We did have a situation similar to this with a house being built. And in that case, again, there was no bad faith shown. And the cost of tearing it down would have been practically the whole house in that case, but it would have been that again, the one abutter that could see that didn't protest it, and there wasn't any, I don't know, I guess you can actually see that it's into the driveway a little bit. Is that correct?
I don't know if it will affect me visually. I'm not sure, because I haven't seen a close-up of what part of the line.
Well, I mean, when you stand at your property,
back.
can you see the corner?
Here.
Yeah,
Well, you can see that porch that's,
so we just got the letter. We didn't get this plan that you guys have.
This is it here.
Yeah.
Where are you, Marilyn? Here, right?
So I'm like right here.
Look at
I'm
this
right
one.
straight across the street. Yeah,
To you.
so on this one.
Yep.
Here.
she's eight.
So,
Sure.
yeah, I can probably see that corner. I don't,
okay, you're 10-9,
18,
18.
10, 18.
Oh, you're up here.
yeah. Yeah, so I'm
And-
looking right across at that new house.
Okay,
Well,
well, the.
At the angle.
It's on the other side.
yeah.
I
It's
don't
on that
think
one.
you'd see it.
To see it
No.
because
It's in the back of the house.
Do with
I don't
it.
think
It's
that's
in
the
the back of
issue.
the house.
I'm not really concerned about it affecting me visually because they own all three of them.
It's
And
more the precedent, is
Yes,
that what you're saying?
Yes.
and the fact that there is another option that should have been explored.
So that's,
The original engineer's horizon, they could come out easily and redo that line and it wouldn't be expensive. Cause I've had them come out again since they did the original surveys up in Moose Run.
well, this isn't a matter of just survey. He has to be able to purchase or go into someone
Front of the bank.
else's
Yeah,
lot.
but there's not gonna be any complaints since they
It's
own
not-
both lots.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
His mother's not
I
gonna say
know.
no.
Yeah, it's just,
Well,
it's
it
more
makes
than
sense.
it seems, so.
This is not something that we know for sure. And as I say, the fact that there is a different way to go than requesting a waiver is not relevant to our decision. It really isn't.
This-
Because there was
I-
nothing that asks us
When
to.
we had a discussion at the last time this waiver came up, we had a discussion that this was supposed to be rarely used. This wasn't the automatic resolution for everybody who puts the house in the wrong place.
No, but if it's done and there is not as you will remember when Dave Noyes testified at the last one, what he said was the reason for a 20-foot setback is to help make sure that people aren't having to tear down houses when there is no bad faith in building it. What happened, that was a mistake. What the requirement is that there be a mistake in the citing of it. So, but I am willing to let, if the board, this is the consensus of the board. And I will poll you in a minute. I'm willing to adjourn this while they explore that option. But I can't say that if, that option should control our decision. And if the 4 criteria are met, then I think the waiver should be granted. Because that's what's required.
I don't think the fourth criteria is being met, is what I'm saying.
The
That
fourth,
the cost of correction outweighs, because I don't think the cost of correction is that big a deal, given that they own both lots, and to just move the line 4 feet. I don't think that's gonna be an expensive correction.
well, that's not, I think.
And
that-
that's-
We don't know
Criteria.
yet, right? Because we
Yeah.
don't know.
But
Um,
yes, I agree, but I have had them twice. I have paid.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean just the survey, but we don't know if the lot lines are gonna be okay for the house they're building. We just don't know. There's a lot we don't know.
But since they have
It
broken
seems like-
ground on that other lot, they could do
But-
like what Eric McLeish did before they break ground adjusted so that
Okay, but we
they
have,
accommodate that.
I know it's
4
all family, but we do have two separate owners here.
Yep, they do.
And they have a right to decide whether they're going to let them, well, first, if there's room, depending on what the,
Yeah.
Right.
What the plan is.
whether they're going to let them come into it.
Yeah.
And as I said, the reason that the waiver is there is not because it's setting precedents, it's because that's what is appropriate. I mean, it is, it's not, we're not going outside of the zoning rules and setting a precedent by doing that. We are just following what the zoning rules provide, and one of them is that the board has the authority to grant an equitable waiver
Mhm.
for
If it
situations
meets
like
the
this,
4
where a
criteria.
If it meets
structure,
the four
where the
criteria.
building
And
is.
I'm suggesting that maybe it doesn't meet the 4 criteria, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Could
don't
could
think the
somebody
cost-
reread that number 4 again, the 4th criteria?
Yeah.
So that-
Oops. Hold on a minute, I gotta find it here. That the violation was not an outcome of ignorance of the law or ordinance, this is the, I'm getting to it, but failure to inquire, obfuscation, misrepresentation, or bad faith on the part of any owners, but instead was caused by either a good faith error in measurement or calculation made by the owner or owner's agent, or by an error in ordinance interpretation, or after, oh, okay, that's not the right part, sorry.
I don't have any zoning.
Says the cost of correction outweighs.
Yeah, I know, and I'm just looking for where that is as part of it. This is, it's not written with all 4 of those. Those 4 were created elsewhere. Oh, here we go. That due to the degree of past construction already or investment made in ignorance of the facts constituting the violence, the cost of correction so far outweighs any public benefit to be granted that it would require the violation to be corrected. The public benefit you're saying is not to set a precedent, but this isn't a precedent. This
No.
is part of the zoning,
Yeah, that's not.
this is something that is provided for anybody who builds.
Yeah.
And it's the question of, did they go ahead and do it after they found the error?
Yeah, no,
Anyway.
I wouldn't presume that there was something nefarious. I'm just saying that the cost of correction doesn't outweigh benefit because it's not that hard to correct it by moving the lot line in the other lot.
Well, no, it's not talking about other solutions, Mayor. It's talking about the adversely, oops, I'm in the wrong one again. Any public benefit. So a separate solution isn't a public benefit per se.
The public benefit is that we have these 20-foot setbacks for a reason. And they shouldn't be.
Well, and part of the reasoning is that it does help take care of situations like this. When we had a 10-foot setback, which we did a while ago, that made it more difficult maybe to correct them, although I believe this is probably still in the law.
I
But-
have
but-
a lot went up the side of me right out my kitchen window and I think I'm gonna have another survey because of this issue that came up.
I said,
It doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
It really doesn't,
I-
but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen a lot, and
So I'm more.
even though we're thinking, and how can we help these people if this doesn't meet all the, and so that's why we're thinking, well, at least their parents live next door, maybe something can happen, but if nonetheless they meet all these, we have to say yes.
Yes.
So we can't suggest that. I'm just saying, if there's a no here somewhere, then maybe that's the next route, right? But if they meet it, we have to grant it.
Yeah.
We follow the
We
laws.
can't say-
Yeah, we follow the laws.
We
don't
can't say,
set
well, I'm
them.
gonna say no because
And we
they can
don't
do
interpret them any
It
different.
has to be if they meet
it's
it.
4 criteria. that they-
Yeah.
if they meet
But
that.
have there been other variances in Moose Road?
I'm not aware of any, but I have not been a member of the ZBA.
Yeah, this is, Marilyn, this is not a variance either. There are probably a number of variances that have been issued, which is a different factor. They would have come, if they had realized this was a problem and they couldn't correct it themselves before they built. I mean, this particular waiver is for existing structures.
Okay, sorry. Semantics. an avar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My
So-
guess is that probably, I've been on the
I'm
board
not
for
aware of
years.
other waivers in Moose Run, that's 40 houses.
Okay, I don't know whether there have been any other waivers. I've been on the board for, I don't know how,
Several years.
many,
yeah.
many years.
He did.
actually.
I didn't have the opportunity to seek a waiver. When I found out my driveway was
Did
6
you-
feet,
did you do it?
6 feet on the, no, I changed the lot line.
Well, that's your choice. But that's not what
I
they
went to
did.
the town and said, what happens? And they said, oh, you got a problem. You better fix it. Go
Yeah.
talk to your neighbor about changing this lot line. And $3,000 later, it was all done.
Okay.
had-
So
you
that's the
have-
route you went instead of
That's all right.
coming.
You have to even really redo the deeds.
Well, they might have chosen to go that way instead of coming here first, but they came here first, right? So now it's before us and now we have to see if they meet the letter of the law.
We need to be
based on-
consistent.
Well,
And
we
Well,
are.
how are we not?
How are we not? We just granted a waiver a year or so ago.
And as I recall, we were worried because that was a waiver that hadn't been used very often in Waterville.
Well, because people probably have not had the same problem of the site being the person that does the citing being wrong. And
I-
there, that was caught the exact same way. There was a bank,
It was,
what-
it's true. But I think
Survey.
the chances for error
Inspection.
have increased because the houses are getting bigger. People are building from setback to setback,
Right.
so there's no room for error. Right? So the builders, the homeowners, surveyors, you gotta double check. If I'm building a house that hits 120-foot setback, hits another 20-foot setback, I'm gonna make sure it's right. I'm gonna double check.
Okay, and I think that we ought to say something to the town and say, before you
Agreed.
issue the permit, please be very sure that you believe everything has been done within the thing. And when the site is started to be built, make sure that
We-
again, it conforms.
Before
Remind
anything,
Before
them.
anything is-
foundation is laid, anything, the pins are in the right place for
Yeah,
the lot
We don't-
and the site
Yeah,
Because
of
we
the
don't-
house.
we don't,
No,
well, they expect,
they
They
just
inspect the
sign
foundation
an
to make sure-
affidavit and
Right.
you have responsibility for
no,
make sure it's
they will,
correct.
like
and
on the
everything.
foundation, they will go out and inspect the foundation to make sure that it is properly done as far as being able to support the building, et cetera. But that's different from going to see, did they,
What depends.
they make an assumption that the site surveyor and the
Well,
site
Get it right.
person who are doing it are
Yeah,
actually
get
in
it right.
accord. But they do go out and check, but they don't check for whether it actually is as the site plan says.
that's because
All
we
right.
don't have a code enforcement
Right.
officer
Right.
full-time who should be measuring.
Yeah, they should be checked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
I built a house in Massachusetts and they pinned it. And they looked at it. The town
Yeah,
came out and looked
That's
at
the
it.
way it should be done.
Right.
So we avoid circumstances like
Exactly.
this. I mean, there are lots still to be built. I think that it should be put on the forefront with talking to them. You know, Dave, about having somebody measure it or do something that we don't go through this again.
Yeah.
In the future,
I-
because you're right, the houses are getting
Yeah,
bigger
they've got
on
one from
smaller
setback to
lots.
set- Right.
Yeah,
But, you know, the problem is when in good faith, you have an inspector that, you know, you get a clear pan.
well, obviously it didn't happen.
Well, he did to begin with. When the mortgage bank came out, but that's the same thing that happened in the last case.
Yeah.
When the mortgage bank came out, and did their inspection, they found that,
But
It
it shouldn't
was-
even go that far. It should be,
But the house shouldn't be up.
exactly, it should be, the pin should be there and the check before the foundation is even poured.
But that isn't really the buyer's. I mean,
No,
the
it isn't
buyer's
that.
fault.
that's
It is
essentially
them.
saying, what we're saying is that they should have before, I mean, because the bank isn't going to be involved before it's built. So it's, you know, they're not gonna come do their inspection until then. So the question is, are we suggesting that the town tell them, get your initial inspection done, survey inspection, and then do a second one before you actually start to build?
Agreed,
If you're building from setback to setback.
exactly,
Okay.
I agree.
Well, we can make
That
that,
seems
it's not
like-
us that will make the recommendation, it's the building permitter, but, you know,
But I think
Yeah,
we
this
should,
is- But
But
the
that's-
second time this.
Paul,
Yeah.
Paul's right, the way
It
they're
can happen
using
again.
every inch of the
Every
setback
inch.
and that's when we're gonna have troubles.
Yeah.
And I think we're gonna have. the
It's gonna
same
happen again
situation
if
come up
people
over and over.
continue
Yeah.
to use every inch of the setback. And so without a double check before a building goes up.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, North Face encroached on my property.
I did, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we had to give them an easement.
yeah.
When
We
we
gave
built,
them an easement instead of selling
yeah,
part of their lot.
I still go back to number 2 and how the violation was not an outcome of ignorance of the law or bad faith. If you look at how it's written, the violation was due to an issue citing the house on the lot and noting where the lot markers were located, specifically a marker which could not be located in the area of an original retaining wall that was placed during the original checkpoint. So to me, that means that they just didn't find it,
but usually,
I see what you mean.
I
but
see
that it
what you
was
mean.
there.
They look,
yeah,
They had a concern then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why did they not
address
double
it.
check?
Oh, there wasn't a concern then.
There was
That-
not,
No, that, when, I'm guessing you're reading off of Will's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
application.
Yeah,
which is what we go
We
by.
went with what was in the retaining wall. Because that's what we were told where the pin was. It wasn't that it couldn't be found, it's just apparently HEB and the surveyor that just did the last one had two different locations of that pin. Now, whether one guy did a better job than the other guy or didn't do the job, I can't answer that. But it wasn't that we don't know where the pin is, so let's just put the house there. That's not the way it went.
Because that kind of is how it reads.
I did.
Yeah, 'cause it
every
reads,
single house built on Jennings.
It could not be located.
Street.
The
Well,
way it reads is it
Yeah.
could not be located,
Right.
which tells you that there's a problem.
Yeah,
there's a problem with the pin.
no,
Well, right off the bat, if you couldn't find a marker, then you know there's a problem and maybe there should be a second
Maybe it's a-
measurement.
But they
Gotcha.
gave us
gave us-
a ribbon with a grade stake, not the original steel pin that's in that wall someplace. They gave us a grade stake to go from and told us that was where the pin is. We couldn't locate the steel marker because it's 10 or 12 feet below a boulder wall in the ground somehows. So they gave us a grade stake with a ribbon on it and said, this is where it is.
and you put it above where the pin was located 12 feet down?
I didn't, they did.
They did.
They did. They put it in the rock wall, though. Yeah, they
Oh, so
put it
they-
in the rock wall where they right directly over the pin as best they could.
did the rock wall get built after the pin was installed?
Yeah,
That's how we
it
got
must
that,
have. That'd be
Yeah.
a built pin,
All
yeah,
right,
it must
So they're
have.
back.
To get back to lot 10, is
10.
my
got it.
guess.
all right.
You can see it very well from the golf course on lot 3, going up to the third tee, all of that.
The retaining wall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I even see a problem with number 3 where we're not, if we were not dealing with family members, there would potentially be an issue.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I don't see how we could say that is, if you look at interfere with future uses of other property in the area, let's say they sold.
Well, I
Yeah.
think the last time what we did was when the abutters came in and said that there was no problem. We accepted that that's what they meant.
Well, the abutter didn't show.
We have the abutters, send a statement.
Statement.
There was one that didn't show. Remember the one that was directly affected did not show, so therefore.
Well, they're,
we said-
by not showing that, that indicates that they have a
I
problem.
don't have a problem. with
Yeah,
it.
if you have a problem, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. The other abutter that's at. May concern.
Yes.
Right, but I'm thinking, if you're thinking about the future, not just the fact that these are family members, but
Yeah.
for future people.
Jane, Miss Lang is in the meeting, she's attending via Zoom, so she can hear you if she wanted to, if you wanted to.
Does she want,
She
does she,
doesn't have a-
well,
Does she
we
want to
have
say
her
something?
statement, so I don't know.
Yes, you do, yeah.
So I don't know if
Just
she has
wanted
anything else to say as a butter at this point. Yeah. Going back to your point though, which was, you had a question about number 3. We actually have not stopped for deliberation, but we can do that. I mean, I haven't called for deliberation, but we've
Okay.
definitely gotten into it. Which would then probably result in some sort of a decision.
Yep.
And I think we need to decide how we're gonna go forward. Do you want? I feel somewhat compelled that we need to go through the four elements, determine whether they're entitled to a waiver. And if they are granted, because I don't think that we have the right to slough it off and say, oh, well, go see if there's another solution. Or we believe there's another solution, but we don't know that it's any good. You agree?
I agree with that.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
But you can simply ask the abutter, ask the owner of the other lot if they'd be amenable to having it resurveyed and make a slight adjustment. Couldn't
Yeah.
you?
This lot is part of their
We're
family.
only supposed to
Yeah.
address this application and those four criteria.
Yeah.
We're in the back of our heads, as all of us are thinking, is if they don't meet that criteria,
What-
might there be a solution for these poor
Or
people,
even-
right?
Or even
So,
more than
but
that.
it's not our job to suggest
That they
that
have-
to, first we have to do this. Right? And if one of these is wrong, no, then that's a possibility for them, but we can't say no to something thinking that would work for them. We don't know if it will work for them. It's possible. We have to go through this. Give it and fairly and. You know, had they done like you and gone to their parents first, it may never have needed to come to us,
Yeah.
but they didn't. So we have to address what's before us, don't we?
Yes.
Yep.
And as I say, there's nothing about, can they find another solution someplace? So I think that we will close the hearing portion of this and we will go to the deliberative process. And go over the criteria and see where we are with it. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. And at this point, I think that your commentary is no longer
Right,
allowed.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Okay. So the first criteria that we're going to look at, and if you want me to read it completely instead of the way I summarized it. That the violation was not noticed or discovered by any owner, former owner, owner's agent or representative or municipal official until after a structural violation had been substantially completed or until after a lot or other, well, that's not relevant here, but anyway, after it had been substantially completed. So from the testimony we've had, it would appear that nobody knew about it until the bank did the mortgage
Right.
survey.
Yeah, that's what I think
Okay.
as well.
So I think that would everybody agree on that, at least that it was not noticed or discovered before the structure was built?
Right, I don't think anybody decided to start building knowing they were off.
Yeah.
Okay, and can I poll the members?
Mhm.
Would you agree?
I agree.
Okay, you agree?
Mhm.
I agree,
Agree.
Tom, okay. Okay, and on two, that the violation was not an outcome of ignorance of the law or ordinance, failure to inquire, obfuscation, misrepresentation, or bad faith on the part of any owner, owner's agent, or representative, but was instead caused by either a good faith error in measurement or calculation made by an owner or owner's agent, or by an error in ordinance interpretation or applicability made by a municipal official. I don't think that last part is at issue. The question is, are we saying that it was not a good faith error in measurement or calculation? Does anybody want to comment?
How do we know?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody
From what I heard
willingly
today,
ignored the law.
I don't think
yeah.
people ignored the law. I
No,
don't think
I
it
don't
was
think they
any.
did. And I
bad
Did
did,
they
faith. I don't
care?
think-
and I
Huh?
don't think that,
Did they think it was gonna not matter? I mean, if,
I don't think.
Yeah,
they
that's
knew
hard to,
from what-
right, you can't say.
Yeah, I don't think they knew from what, and from what we said on number one, but I don't think they knew until the bank.
But
Came to
if the original pin is covered under 10 feet of rock. Right, so that's gonna. Make the site maybe a little unusual. And there could be some opportunity for error, but I don't think it was,
Bad faith.
I don't think it
isn't
was
that
bad
what
faith or
the
intention.
surveyor is supposed to do, is to put those pins in.
Yeah, but the pin was buried.
It was
under-
in.
I mean,
but
if
then
if
there
you
was-
Is that
walk,
before or after?
It
The
was-
wall was put in
yeah,
after?
so that rock wall, when was that?
Is 20, 30 years old. When
Yeah,
Moose Run
it's-
started, that wall was built
Right.
after the lots were surveyed.
Yeah,
And then Cantlin had them put that retaining wall in to get them a proposed driveway to get out to lot 10, because lot 10 was landlocked.
yes,
And he needed to get every inch of land he could up there.
Yeah.
To get every bit of,
so
you
that
know.
that wall's been there forever, 30
Yes,
years, yeah,
correct.
so the wall's been there and the pin's buried and that's just what happened. I just don't think there's bad faith in. You know, maybe, obviously someone made a mistake, but I don't think it was intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, can I, do you have more to say? No. Barb,
No, I agree. I
Okay.
agree. I think,
on two then, do you believe they met the requirement that there was not bad faith nor ignorance of the law?
I disagree.
You disagree? Okay. I agree that they've met that criteria.
Great.
Paul?
Yep.
I don't know. Good question.
You want to abstain?
Not what I'm saying.
Okay. We have three that agree. Barb, me, and Paul. And therefore, the criteria is considered met. 3. That the physical or dimensional violation does not constitute a public or private nuisance, nor diminish the value of other property in the area, nor interfere with or adversely affect any present or permissible future uses of any such property. Well, the property they're talking about is actually the one that the structure is on.
Yep.
And I can't see that it's going to make a difference there, since
No,
part of it is
it's just gonna make a difference.
yeah, because there's a road there that, that they've agreed to already, or there's an easement was put in, I guess, by someone else a
there's
long
no
time ago.
diminished value.
But
Yeah.
it says, or interfere with the future uses of other property in the area.
How will
Well, how
it
does
interfere
that
with the
work?
verse? Can you explain how you think it will interfere with other property?
In fact, this driveway easement might be an issue for the people in lot 10. Depending on how, with that hill, I'm just not sure.
But the
Mr. Blanford,
encroachment doesn't hit the
does
driveway
the-
easement, right?
does-
it's not, we're not in the driveway.
You're not in the
Yeah.
driveway
The
easement.
driveway actually is there enough of it. I don't know who went out to look, but it's just kind of roughed in. It doesn't impact the driveway.
I see, so it's
Yeah,
here,
just-
oh, it ends here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so.
Doesn't
definitely back
apply,
there.
yes.
Yeah. There's a 30-foot wide driveway easement, that's
Yeah.
a very big one.
It's just this. right here.
Yeah. So it doesn't interfere with the present or permissible use of this property, or as far as I can tell, other properties. Right? A public or private nuisance, nor diminish the value of other property in the area. I don't see how it can be considered a nuisance when it's virtually not visible to anybody. I mean, if it were visible, most people would not know that it was not within the setback. I mean, that it was protruding into the setback. Thoughts?
Yeah, can I ask Brian a question?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian, if this picture shows lot 10, can I show it to you? You may approach the bench. I watch too much Judge Judy. So is this, what's the elevation of lot 10 relative to this lot? Is this downhill?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
lot 10 is downhill from here, right
Yeah.
here. This is,
Yeah.
there's it's downhill 3 feet where the new garage or new house would be. It only
All right.
goes down. That lot drops off quite a bit and needs to be filled in to bring up. They don't want it to go down and all the way down. Right now, it drops off quite a bit.
So the elevation from here to the structure over here.
It's about 3 feet.
3 feet. Okay, great, thanks.
Sorry about that, folks. I haven't figured out how to control the phone with my new hearing aids. I'm afraid to turn it off because then I don't know what's going on.
Paul, can you just explain that to me?
Yeah, so I wanted to find out, if you take a look at lot 10,
Yeah,
right, there's gonna be a
Yeah.
house built here.
right.
What is the elevation difference? So this
Okay.
is, you know,
Is it
3
elevation-
feet
it's-
down, it's
Okay.
3 feet
That
down.
one's 3 feet, but that's the
Yeah.
one to be built.
Yeah, to be
Right.
built. So
Okay.
this is gonna be visible to the folks who live here. If this was 20 feet down,
And lot.
probably wouldn't be
10,
visible.
If that's the one that's going to be built,
Yeah.
that is the one that the Lane seniors
Yeah,
own and are building
Yeah.
on.
yeah.
Where is lot 5? I'm missing it. Oh, here.
Across the street.
That's not shown on there.
It's on the other
It's
one.
on this other-
So it would only basically impact.
It is
Yeah, that
on
one
that,
house, yeah, that
Yeah.
one house.
Which is lot 10.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it says here lot.
yeah, and that's also owned by the Lanes.
Yeah.
Okay. I find it hard to find that's going to diminish the value of any property in the area. Given the fact, especially that there is, there seems to be divisions, natural divisions between them already.
Yeah.
That,
Just elevation change.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not talking about 4 foot square, it's gonna be a triangle. Yeah, is it ideal? No, but that's what this waiver is for.
and I don't, I can't say, it's not setting a precedence because we are not giving them a waiver unentitledly. The waiver is in the zoning ordinances.
Yeah.
It is something that we are required to consider.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, if someone would built a house, they wanted to impede on a setback. And they did it, and they thought, I'll just go to the ZBA, once everything is framed, get it done. They still need to prove that, there's no
It was-
negligence.
Big
there's an
risk,
honest
though, to
mistake.
do that.
that's a
It's
very
huge
big risk.
risk.
Because
That's
they're
a
going to
very huge
have
risk.
to have something that shows that there was an understanding
Yeah,
and then somebody made a miscalculation.
Yeah.
I do agree, though, that. A second measurement before a home is,
yeah.
Yeah. Because
especially when all the setbacks are being,
Yeah,
but that's not their problem.
Can I-
That's,
yeah, can I-
that's something
That's
that,
a big job for someone like Dave to do, once you do. Every house I built on Jennings Peak and several in Moose Run, including Berries, the had to have a surveyor come out and actually pin the concrete wall. So Dave can come out and he can look, we've actually looked at the pins at Will Lane's house. You can come and look and take measurements off of that, but if it's one down below, like this happens to be that's misgotten,
Mhm.
you've got a problem, because Dave could have looked at it just like I did. And say, hey, we're
Yeah,
good,
that's fine, yeah.
you're well within, we thought it was a couple feet, actually, you're well within, so go ahead. If you do, and it's none of my business, but if you did want a second one, you would actually have to have in your building package, you have to have the footings pinned by a surveyor. And then that surveyor takes all responsibility that you're well within. Because there's many houses, the little houses on Jennings Peak I did, are within 6 inches of the setback places.
Was it
So-
even a
My
20-foot
house.
setback at the time?
My backyard.
It was,
Pardon?
And you can't, you just can't.
Yeah.
Well, this is an opinion, but I don't believe you could expect someone like Dave, who is your code enforcement guy right now, to come out and say, oh boy, that footing is wrong. You would actually need a survey to come out. And if,
and that's what I'm,
if you're finding that the lots are getting tight, which
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me, the lots are getting tight, then somewhere's in the building process and the inspection process. Because Dave comes out and he sees footings that have the steel in them and all that.
I'm not suggesting Dave
No, I'm
come
just
out.
saying-
I'm
Yeah.
saying that
You'd have to change,
There's a way,
Yeah, you have to change the way, you'd have to, right.
you'd have to change it,
Yeah.
and a part of the inspection process
Yeah.
is, for your concrete foundation is, you have a site survey.
it's too much to ask to
Yeah.
Dave to be able to, that's,
Correct.
I think that's what we're pretty much.
Yes, yeah.
But
But it would be
it's,
another process in your building,
I think it
your
should.
building
but
permit
it's,
process.
Yeah.
And you're correct, you're absolutely right, but it would be a total different group come in, whoever has cited your plan, they gotta come in and they gotta cite your footings as well.
Well, and
before the next step
Yeah.
is all I'm saying.
Once the
Because
foundation is.
look where you're at now, and now it's like,
Right.
well,
Yeah.
Once that is in your foundation, that's the step, I mean, because that's all you set that. Then the only thing you worry about is your overhangs on your roofs and things like that.
right.
But I would think that would have to be something that you would all have to vote in.
There's nothing
I
that we
think
can do
building
right
permit-
now.
No,
I'm
it's-
yeah.
just saying, we're just
Something-
saying in general that this
We're
is,
just, yeah, we're just trying to come up with ways this doesn't happen again, because this is the second time this happened in, what, year and a half?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just don't want it to happen.
Yeah, and never before that had I run
Yeah.
into it.
But I think.
But the
what we're-
houses, I think the
Well, the
houses
houses are
now are
getting-
just built.
They're
from
getting
setback
bigger.
lines.
Yeah,
But
what
they
we're
are.
proposing,
And the lots are smaller.
exactly.
Yeah,
They're not the lots that are left that they're building on now are resold lots or lots that have been there, and they're small. The one up across from Will and Megan Lanes right now is very small. When you
Yeah.
take Wetlands into consideration,
That's,
you take the fishes and.
What's that?
whoever
that's the
that
one
was
next to
here.
Marilyn Clarkson,
it's in
correct?
between Maryland.
That lot's
Yeah.
between you and Marilyn.
Yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
come on up.
Invite me.
I go. Invite
The
me.
road's not private.
At
Invite
any
me.
rate, I don't think, there's no diminished value in my opinion.
Yeah, and I
about
would
anybody
agree.
else.
No, it's
Okay.
a
Do
triangle in
you
the
feel
back
that
of the
there was a
house.
diminution of
Yeah.
value,
No, I agree.
No,
Tom?
No, it doesn't.
no.
Paul? And I agree. Mhm. Okay, 4. And that due to the degree of past construction or investment made in ignorance of the facts constituting the violation, the cost of correction so far outweighs any public benefit to be gained, that it would be inequitable to require the violation to be corrected. And I must, from my perspective, having seen the building and the concrete and the building above
It's
it,
a big building. I'm not
It
not
would-
gonna tear the building down.
yeah, especially since, again, it's not really visible to the public.
Right.
And there is plenty of room for the easement for the car
Yeah.
parking.
Yeah.
So, from my perspective, I don't find a problem with that.
Yes, I do, because I go back to the general idea of why we have this law and the setback issue. And so if people can encroach on it and not
But the ones
see
that,
the consequences for it.
but
But
they're
it-
not
but it was-
approaching
but it
it
was-
purposefully.
Yeah, it's done by, at least from what we heard, it was an honest mistake.
In the 2 cases we've had,
2 in what, a year?
year and a half, yeah.
But it is, yeah, I know. It aggravates me too. There's no room for error with the size of the buildings you're putting on these small lots, right?
Yeah.
And, but it was, I think it was an honest mistake and.
And the cost of the correction can only be to remove,
That-
Not
Yeah.
to take that.
necessarily.
Well, it is, because we can't suggest that they
Tear down.
that they go get, that's, if the cost of correction of the lot as it stands right now
The structure.
is to take it down. We don't know if the lot will get bigger because they'll do, like, we can't do that. That's not before us. If we can't say yes to all of these and it gets a no, then they should consider that. But we can't consider that for them, and that's
Yeah.
not a correction that we can call for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they chose the path forward. We didn't choose it. So we kind of have to work within the bounds of the
Yeah.
rules.
We
and
can only
the
go by with
virtue
what
of
the
it.
house is
Yeah.
now, the lot is right now, not as
Yeah.
if they buy some,
Yeah.
10 feet from the father and
Right.
mother.
But I'm going, I guess it's my definition of what the public benefit is. Public benefit meaning that we have a consistent rule that builders have to abide by.
That's
We
what we
do.
I think
have.
we do
We do.
have.
We have. that's
We
what-
have it.
That's what the,
And
that's
if
what the
a mistake
agreement
is made, the past 2 cases,
Yeah,
there is, that's what this.
if either of those we had believed that there was bad faith, or that they couldn't show that, you know, that there was, or explain that there was one survey that showed this, and they went with that, and there was another survey later after the building, and in both cases, it's been by the bank who's come in and surveyed, and that's where they discovered the mistake. You know, I don't see how that's harming the public.
There's still, the zoning laws still exist. Nobody's gonna purposely do it.
Yeah.
Because it's a huge cost if it doesn't.
Yeah, if they do it purposely, and that would.
But
be a
we're
finding.
setting
We can
precedents.
sniff
We
that
have
out.
two
How are we
cases
setting
now.
precedent?
We have
We're not
two
setting
cases.
precedent. The precedent is 20-foot setback. If you don't want to have a zoning board of appeals, that's it. There's no way for you to come forward and chop it off. That's it.
Yeah.
That's different.
but
But you
so-
have a zoning board of appeals
I
for
think-
these situations. And we can say no. I mean,
If
But
we
that's
find-
not setting-
I-
Yes,
I
we
don't s-
have.
but it's not setting a precedent. I don't see how.
I
it's-
don't see how.
So if someone built a house purposely into the 20-foot setback, haven't seen both these cases on Zoom calls, right, on video. Right. Try to make their case, we can sniff whether they're lying or not.
How
We
could
can
we?
sniff.
I mean, the pins, we don't know those pins. I mean, we have the testimony here, but I don't know that we have not seen where those pins were.
But you
And
can't-
where
the
was
pins are-
one just
right.
missed?
So I walked a lot and I saw
You
that.
saw the
Yeah,
pins?
well, no,
Or
I
would you
saw the
know?
wall that buried the pin, and I saw the temporary stake that was put in with a ribbon, right?
Ribbon on it.
Yes, correct.
Right, so I saw all that and I thought, well, it looks like this rock wall has been there for many, many, many years. And the way I interpreted it is the pin was buried underneath that wall years ago. And they put that stake with the ribbons on it, and someone didn't put it in the right place, right?
Correct. And
So it's
so when
not,
you'd go back, it would be my mistake, like if I measured it wrong from
Mhm.
that, you know,
Yeah.
we got a stake and a pin and I measured it wrong. Or the new surveyor came in, said, well, that stake should have been over here a foot. And there were, you know, so it was a honest mistake by me. I didn't know we were doing, believe me, I wouldn't put a multi-million-dollar house in a setback.
Yeah, that's.
yeah,
And the reason for setbacks, I believe, is if there is a mistake, that's why you have 20 feet.
on
To
both
do that.
sides.
The lanes, Will knew nothing about this until
Yeah.
the bank did. And I'm sure if he had, he would have told me, and you're not gonna mess with the bank when you got a mortgage and all of a sudden they're not gonna give you the money.
for a home.
You
of that
want it
value.
within there.
Yeah,
And I don't think the board should, you know, you're saying that, you know, her parents, you can't treat lot 10 like it's his parents.
Mhm.
It's another
Right.
lot, any
Right.
more than it's Dan Cooney's.
Right.
And let's just say it was a family that didn't get along. No saying Jane's gonna say, hey, go ahead, move your lot onto lot 10. That's why he came to the town in good faith to do the variance.
But they're using that in number 3 as as a reason.
It's not an excuse.
It's not an
You
excuse, I said
well, that's what
reason.
you started saying.
I know, and I
Sheila.
changed it to reason.
I think it's
Not
to
an
show that
excuse.
it's, that an affected butter does not have a problem with it. Which is what
yeah,
the
you
butter
know,
has the right to
yeah, the
do.
last case we came, we heard from all the abutters, right?
Yeah, a number of
Except
them,
for
yeah,
one.
no,
Yeah,
except the one that was affected, they didn't care enough to,
no.
you know, send
And it
in
was-
even a note saying what their views were. Which means that they weren't gonna have a problem with it. You know, as they say,
I just think we,
Yep.
before we go to this kind of a variance, we should at least ask, is there another alternative to solve the problem?
I
Is that our
you wanna
job?
write that in to the zoning? And see if we can make the
That's
zoning.
not-
variance.
I think it's common
Then-
sense.
Well, the rules have to change.
I think it's common sense.
No, well,
Well,
it's
it's-
common sense, but it's not a
not a
requirement we
rule.
can make.
That's us making rules.
And I did ask that right at the
So
beginning.
they could, so
If
they
had
come
they-
back, so he comes back and says, no, we're not gonna, my mother's not gonna do it. Have they even asked the question?
I don't know.
Has anybody ever asked the damn question? Can we
No.
fix this with a lot line?
But why would they ask the questions? Because that's why you have the variances in place. That
Yeah,
come
but
first.
this variance is not supposed to be handed out like candy.
It's not.
I'm not, you just said you've given out two.
No, it's.
Yeah, it's not.
One.
Two,
Tom,
well, correct. You've
This is-
given out one in all these years. One mistake. That's pretty darn good for the amount of building that's going on in Waterville Valley.
Yeah, that's actually true.
I don't think it's
How big.
I understand where you're coming from, and I think it's because you had gone that route first before coming, that made. And but they did the. To only go. Last week.
I'm really working.
Yeah,
If-
The guardrail,
I'm
not
sure
for
that
me.
it's a,
we would have to look at the state zoning. Have you considered any other solution
before you come to the zoning board of
before you,
appeals.
before you file this application?
But you told them to change to the waiver of dimensional requirements versus the
Variance?
variance.
Well, that was
Because
because
it's
the
more
variance
appropriate.
would have been pre-built. This was already built.
Already built.
So that's
Why they're asking
why.
for.
Yeah.
It's
It was
equitable
just
for us
a more appropriate
Yeah.
form.
because it's already. the
So couldn't you,
criteria is
but I
like-
mean, if you were doing that kind of a, if you were mentioning that, why wouldn't you mention at the same time there are other options besides?
Because
Because it's not a
It's not a requirement. That's what I'm saying.
So-
If
requirement.
we want
of
to
the
Going back to what
ordinance.
Barry was-
No, the
Yeah.
rule, look, the rules, it's, if it's not a variance, it's, you know, this
The
dimension,
waiver.
yeah, it's the waiver.
Of-
There isn't another one for us to choose from. We don't have any other choices.
Yeah.
The way the zoning laws are written,
I mean, if there was a zoning law that said,
you
you
know,
know, that you had to seek out any other option before you came to us.
yeah,
And
or
that's- I mean,
Then
move
That's
lot
something you
line,
go to- you
move,
go
But
to
there
the
doesn't
planning-
exist.
Go to the
Doesn't
planning
exist,
board,
yeah.
and request that they amend our
Mhm.
zoning ordinance to include a requirement that they consider any other solution
that's a good idea.
short of,
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
short of having to grant a waiver and having it intrude into an existing setback.
then we have
We have a-
leverage.
Yeah, we have a mechanism.
We
that
don't
can-
have that.
We have a
can
road
say-
we can steer them down.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't have that road.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
yeah. it's-
But
it's
that
not
helps
the, I mean, it's not the owner's fault,
Yeah, but still.
Yeah,
but it's,
we have 4 criteria we have to consider and we can, we can have different interpretations of what the criteria mean. I guess.
Yep.
Certainly everybody does. That's why we have so many suits in law. Anyway. And does anybody have any further comment on number 4, the 4th reason? Which is. On the wrong
But
page.
yeah, I have a
Huh?
question.
We're on
Is
number
that
4.
space
Where am I?
that's
Oh, no,
into the setback, is that gonna be finished space?
It is
ultimately?
finished space.
It is gonna be finished space,
Yeah.
so that's.
What do you mean finished?
There's gonna
High
be a room.
correction.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's gonna be
yeah, oh,
room. It's
yeah.
not
It's a-
Yeah,
It's not a deck.
yeah.
Yeah,
not
it's
a
not,
deck.
Yeah.
that's what I asked earlier,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's not
not-
just a deck, it's,
yeah,
there's a room below that.
Can't just lop it off.
yeah. So. Due to the degree of past construction and investment made in ignorance of the facts constituting the violation, the cost of correction so far outweighs any public benefit to be gained that it would be inequitable to require the violation to be corrected. Tom? You agree they met or disagree that they met that criteria?
I guess they met it.
Huh?
I guess they've met that criteria.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
They met
Oh,
it.
yes, I'm sorry
I just, I don't see a lot of common sense being applied here.
to drive it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. You agree?
Disagree.
We, we have rules, we follow the rules.
The common sense.
Well,
rule is-
The criteria having been considered by the board finds that all the criteria are met and a waiver will be granted. I will. And get it out to you.
So this is, all
Okay,
right,
is adjourn at 4:50 something. I can't read.
Thank you.
I can't hear, I can't see.
Well, I
Oh
think
dear, that last part was on it. I can't hear.